I'm Steve Johnson, News Director for theDove TV. Check out our other videos and visit our website at thedove.us. Thanks.
Well, welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and I can tell already our guest today probably deserves 3 hours. This is a fascinating gentleman, and I think his own life story would be a show unto itself, let alone the book that he has co-authored, and that is The Answer, Proof of God in Heaven. What a delight today to have with us a gentleman that has really done a remarkable journey, has had a remarkable journey in his business career, and then links up with a lady who's an actress and a model, and together they co-authored this book. And I'm talking about Marius Forte is with us today. And Marius, where are we broadcasting you from? Because my production crew says, pull open the shade and show the camera out the window. It's beautiful.
Oh, you want to see it? I'm in Salzburg right now for about a week. I'm Austrian, and I'm just back here for a short vacation. I can show you the churches. It's the place of the sound of music, as you can see out the window.
Oh, look at that. That is fabulous. Thank you for doing that.
All right. Yeah, you have it.
Well, listen, your own personal journey is a fascinating one. Can you just give us maybe a 30-second review of that? I know that's not fair, but your faith walk.
I'll do it really quickly. I was born in Vienna, Austria, to parents who adored America, could not forget what America did during the Second World War, after the Second World War, freed Europe from the Nazis and from the communists. I was raised in an American school in Vienna, but left early when I was 20 and moved to Africa and started a business in cement, started a business for 7 years in the Middle East in Saudi Arabia, and over strange paths finally ended up in New York about 25 years ago. And now I'm allowed to live in the greatest country this earth has ever seen, and that's America.
Well, God bless you. How in the world did you meet up with Sam? Tell us that story.
It's strange. I met Sam a long time ago in Paris, actually. She was a model. She was a very, very talented woman. And we just became really good friends. And we just stayed in touch. Sam went back to New York, back to LA, got married, has 3 kids. She has a radio show. She took over one from TRN, a show that used to be a Laura Ingraham show. And she's on daily in the morning from 6 to 9 a.m. And she's a brilliant woman. And we just basically shared the same beliefs, even though she was raised very different. She was basically raised Jewish, even though she wasn't Jewish. Her mother thought that would be a good upbringing, but she also found her way to Christ, of course. And then she's a great writer, and together we wrote the book.
All right, so what made you take on the question, the answer?
You know, I was very young. I was 4 or 5 years old, and things sort of talked out of me. And my parents taped me, and I remember those tapes because they played them. And I talked about the subject, and of course, with 4 or 5 years, a child doesn't have an intellect. So something must have been there before that really wanted me to express my beliefs in God and in Christ. And as I grew older, I sort of knew certain answers when we had this conversation, and it was my favorite subject. Is there something? Is there nothing? Because there's a big difference in the answers, of course, especially when you talk to atheists or agnostics. And sort of certain answers just came out of me without really thinking about them. And for a long time, I wanted to write this book, but life sort of hijacked me. I did different businesses, different parts of the world, until I finally could write this. And the book just was launched, and you can get it on Amazon or in Barnes & Noble. It's called The Answer, Proof of God in Heaven. And there really is an absolute proof of God in heaven.
All right, so let's just jump into that. What kind of proofs of God's existence are you talking about?
Well, there are many, of course, and I'll give you just a few examples. We live by God's laws, and these laws are absolute. I'll give you one. We have a spiritual law, which Christ refers to the Sermon on the Mount, whatever you sow, you shall reap. He said whatever. He didn't say quite a bit, quite a lot, or something. He said whatever, which is a physical law called the law of cause and effect. Everything we do has a consequence. The universe does not forget. All these spiritual laws, all these universal laws are interconnected, and they're absolute. We can measure gravity. Gravity is not an imagination. Not once does gravity not work. Even if it's your birthday, it is reliable. These laws are absolute. If you take a pendulum to 30 degrees, let it go to 30 degrees, time delayed, it will certainly come back. The universe never forgets because it can't. And that's how reliable these God's laws are. We are within the fabric of this universe, and everything within that fabric of the universe has to act according to these laws. So we are part of it. We cannot escape them, thank God, because that's how God designed it. And via these laws, you can prove God in an absolute way.
All right, and you call them the universal laws described in your book, and there's 7
Well,
of them?
There's 7, but I'll just give you one example, and many actually. We have the law of cause and effect. We have the law of polarity. We have the law of vibration. Everything vibrates, everything moves. The law of cause and effect is very simple. If you take a look at this glass, and I just had some water, this glass tells you something, 100%, not 99%. Before the glass came to be, there had to be the thought glass, because the thought was the formulating idea behind the glass. Now, the thought, you cannot weigh, you cannot measure. It's pure spirit. Now I can break the glass, but the thought will still be here. Because, of course, before you came into being, there was the thought, which is your soul, which is eternal. Because it is not of this world, it is not from time and matter. It takes a thought to formulate anything. It takes a thought to create a house, a car, a machine, a computer. Nothing comes by from nothing. And that's an important sentence. The thought about God is actually very simple. If you talk to an atheist or an agnostic, they think that everything came from nothing. And nothing can come from nothing. You cannot arrive at a 1 by coming from a 0. You need a 1 to start with. So if you look at this world and you think, was all this created by something, by the law, the Greek word for cosmos, or was it just chance? The problem with chance is that, number 1, it doesn't exist. Number 2, it is not intelligent. Chance is not a creator of anything. Chance doesn't create anything. It takes a creative mind and of immense intelligence to create what we see. We don't have one example where chance has ever created anything.
You're obviously advocating order, right?
Cosmos.
Okay.
Yes, cosmos, the Greek word for order.
Okay. And all right, so today, I think the big argument is the proof of God, and if you're saying agnostic, atheists are in the middle of this argument. So how would you say, or how would you get people to understand the existence of God in the middle of a culture which is really trying to disprove it?
First of all, I think the majority of Americans, the majority of the world, truly has an absolute faith in God. By statistics, it is a very small group, but they're very vocal. We're very upset by the thought of God. I always say, and again, these are absolute laws. If you have a dark room, open the curtain. You have to open the curtain. Light comes in, darkness goes out. It's impossible that you have light and darkness at the same time. Light will always win over darkness, of course. Mm-hmm. That's why darkness is afraid of light, and that's why they're so upset if they say Christians or people of belief expressing their beliefs, because they are truly in the darkness. When I talk to an atheist, I tell them, do you pray and do you go to church? And they very get upset and say, of course not, I'm an atheist. So how do you expect to receive God? How can you expect to understand French if you don't open the French book? How do you expect to play tennis, anything you want, if you don't invite the information into you? You can't. You've closed yourself. You have that curtain really closed, and you tell everybody, look, it's dark, and you're right, it's dark. For you, because you haven't opened the curtain, you cannot receive the news from today unless you open the TV. You're looking at a blank screen TV, it's black, and you say there's nothing on it, and you're right, because you've never opened, you've never desired to open it. So unless you turn to God, you can't expect him to receive, because God gave us one thing, which is a great, great, great gift to us, and that's free choice. He doesn't force himself upon us. We are free to receive him and reject him. And even Christ on the cross said, Father, into your hands I demand my spirit. We go where we want to go. Wow.
How do you deal with heaven?
Well, I just had this conversation a couple of nights ago where somebody said, you know what, I'm a good person, but, you know, I don't believe in God, and why should I not go to heaven? And I said, it's very simple. Imagine you live in New York, and your mother lives in Dallas, and you go to JFK Airport, and you buy a ticket that takes you to Miami. You bought a ticket by your free choice that separates you from your mother in Dallas. Now you're in Miami, your mother's in Dallas, and now you go back to New York, and you do this over and over again. You never buy a ticket to be united with your mother. Can you be with your mother if by your own choice you decide, I'm not going to go to Dallas, I'm going to go to Miami? The same thing with us and God. God gives us many, many, many choices because God's love for us is radical. And if you want to understand anything about God, try to, in principle, understand the idea of infinity. God's love for us is radical. He gives us many choices, but if we reject him over and over and over again, eventually God will say, I understand, you don't want to be with me, then you cannot be with me because by your own choice. I'm not going to force you. I cannot force you. Mm-hmm. But you will not be with me in eternity. And the problem with eternity is it's not a long time. It's not a very long time. It's the absence of time. There is no cure. Once you come to that point, and again, it will take a long time because I think most of us will make it to heaven, because God's love for us is radical. But once you reject him over and over again, it's like buying that plane ticket that constantly takes you to Miami. You're not going to be united with your mother.
Wow, what an example. Marius, do you sense as you travel the world and speak, and now that you have this book out, that there is a hunger now for what is truth and who can I trust?
You know what? The desire for religion, the desire for God, the desire for quality was an aspect we always had. We had people that used to go to church, maybe for family, maybe for friends, maybe for their fashion, maybe for truly finding God. It's a quality aspect. It's truly a quality aspect of a human mind. And of course, the more you exercise, the more God can come. So people that really turn to God will have an experience, the greatest love experience of your life, which is God. People that turn away, or they probably do it 3 times a year, you cannot expect to learn anything, not tennis or French, if you turn to that French book 3 times a year and think you're going to speak French. Actually, that serves as proof that French doesn't really make sense because you haven't acquired the language. Millions and millions and millions of people throughout the ages and today have turned to God and have found that amazing love. In the past, they even would gladly give their lives for that love because love, that feeling was so strong. It's not a light bulb that shines up that proves your love from either from you to God or from a mother to her child, but it is the strongest emotion that we're capable of as human beings. So I find that desire to know God and meet God all over the world. It is universal.
Wow. Marius, you are an inspiration. We're going to get you back, and the book is entitled The Answer, Proof of God in Heaven. There's a picture up there on the screen, and let me encourage you to check it out at the bookstores or online at Amazon or Barnes & Noble and get a copy of it. Best to you, my friend. Thanks for letting us have a little bit of your time today, and let's reconnect soon, okay?
Anytime, and thank you for the opportunity.
God bless you. All right, we'll be right back.